Hello, I'm Sharzad Morgan. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things that happen when women in their youth were given negative messages about sex. I'm not even going to go into the women who were physically assaulted because that has its own set of traumas and problems, like being a nymphomaniac or never wanting sex at all. But what I want to talk about now are the ones that are less obviously women that were not physically violated as children, but who were given negative messages about their body, about sex, about their value as virgins, and how they shouldn't masturbate and all of that, and the impact it has on them enjoying sex later on in life. Because just from so many men I've talked to, they're married to women who just lay there in bed. Starfish. They lay there with their eyes closed and they like sex, but they don't initiate, they don't engage, they don't interact, they don't open their eyes. Some of them never give blowjobs. And sometimes they don't have sex for years with their husbands. And it comes down to our programming. Our programming is really what we're taught as children, what we're taught growing up. And this programming has a very profound impact on our bodies. What we think has a profound impact on our bodies. I don't think that people realize when they're raising their children that the way they talk about sex or bodies or sexuality can permanently damage their children without them ever being physically abused. They were emotionally or verbally sexually abused, in my opinion. Messages such as good girls don't like sex, or the purity message of men value virgins. You have to be a virgin until you're married. Your virginity is your prize. Your value is in your virginity. And little kids, we want to learn as people in this society how to get along, right? How to be loved, how to love. We learn how to be, how to behave. We learn our social skills, our social cues. If we want to get a husband or a wife, what kind of person do we have to be? Our society teaches us certain things, right? How to dress, how to do our makeup. You can go around different cultures in the world and see all the different ways. They have different cultural norms around how to fit into their society. And children naturally pick up on that. So if you're a little boy or a little girl and you're masturbating and your parents shame you or spank you or send you to your room and tell you you're bad, what's going to happen every time you feel curious about your body? You've naturally been taught that your body is bad. You shouldn't touch it. You shouldn't touch it. It's bad. And that is not something you can undo just because you're married. This is the interesting thing about it. What we're taught is almost like every time then a child gets a sexual curiosity, they're going to push it down. And every time you push it down, you pack the dirt on more and more and more till you have this foundation of a life built where your sexuality is just trampled down. And to reawaken is extremely, extremely difficult, because every time it's reawakened, you're going to have that thought that it's bad, and it's hard to undo those kinds of programming, that kind of wiring. The same goes for a lot of women don't want their ass touched or play with their asses because they're taught it's dirty, it's bad, and they want to be clean and pretty. Some of the common negative messages also have to do with virginity. There's a book about the purity culture called Pure. You might want to check out about the negative impact on women when they're taught growing up that to be good and to be pleasing and to be loved, which we all want to be as little girls, right? Is that we shouldn't show anything because we can tempt men. We shouldn't be too smart because we should not be as smart as men. So keep your intelligence down, keep your body down, watch how you move. You're responsible for men's lust. Don't like sex until you're married. The problem is, if you're taught that your virginity is your prize, you're teaching, we as women then are taught that our body doesn't belong to us. It belongs to some other man, and he gets to decide our value. Our value is in being non-sexual. You can be sexual only later, but see, sexuality is not a switch. The programming as a child, that stays. It's like, imagine like you have some clay and you're molding the clay. The childhood, you're molding the child, what's in their values, how accountable they are, whatever. And then you bake it. Okay, now it's baked. It's baked in. You can't undo it. But what really happens is that every time then people get a sexual desire or sexual thought, they immediately know, oh my God, this is bad. I got to push it down. Anything that you teach children is bad, they're going to push down. It could even be anger. If you grow up in a household where anger is not allowed, then every time you feel angry, you automatically repress it. And you get to the point that you don't even notice you're angry. Other people can see that you're angry, but you're like, I'm not angry. I know I'm not angry, because you're so disconnected. You've just pushed down your feelings and your awareness of your feelings. And if you're taught that your value as a woman is in your virginity, and that's what we were taught in the 60s, by the way, even though it was like the free love era, we were taught that we shouldn't sleep around. And a lot of men still, you can look in the manosphere videos, they say, we don't want to date a woman who's had a lot of men. We want the virgin. Well, you better marry her when she's 18, because a sexually active woman or a woman who likes sex isn't going to sit around as a virgin waiting for Mr. Right to come along. That's the problem. And the only ones who do are going to be shut down. You're not going to have a good sex life with a shut down woman. But I guess I can see why men would be afraid. Like, men are afraid of a sexually... A woman who loves sex scares the hell out of men because they can't control her. They think. They don't understand that a woman can love sex and be monogamous and be honest and trustworthy. They're just scared by our sexuality. Like, oh my God, she likes sex. If I don't give it to her, she's going to get it somewhere else. I don't know who the father is. I'm scared of her sexuality because I want to control her sexuality. I want to be the more powerful sexual one. So really insecure men, or even men who don't know how to evaluate a woman's monogamy, are going to be very threatened by that. But we, as women, I could see why the church valued virginity until marriage. Because back in those days, before birth control, women could get pregnant when they were like 14 and menstruating. You don't want to have a bunch of women running around with children out of wedlock. That's not good for children, and it's not good for the single moms. So the idea was you have sex when you're married so that you have a husband, you can both take care of the children together, because human babies are very helpless and very needy, and moms need a lot of support. So it's better for the mom to have sex with the man who's going to be the father, be there for the children. So it made a lot of sense. But it doesn't make sense when we have birth control and women aren't getting married till their late 20s, and telling women that their virginity is their greatest asset or is their greatest value. Every time they start to feel like some libido come up or some sexual curiosity come up, they push it down so much that it's so pushed down it can't be awakened. And every time a future husband tries to awaken it, they just shut down. They don't want it. And that's why they just lay there in bed like a starfish, because they're told it's bad. And they're taught that a man values your virginity. So how can your husband value you if you like to fuck? And that was one of the messages I had. Can't let my husband know I like to fuck him because he will disrespect me. Now, you might laugh at that, but that's the natural conclusion that I had when I was taught that sex is something you do when you really love someone, and your virginity is a prize. You shouldn't have sex with too many men. Men won't like that. And I never was taught a man loves a lusty woman. A lusty woman is of great value. I wasn't taught that. I think the younger generation is a bit better, but they've gone too far the other way, in which they leave intimacy and emotional connection out of it. They don't value the partner. They have hookups by the sleight of hand, and they have hookups before they even have been to each other's houses or know what's your favorite dinner. They've bypassed the human connection. So they've gone way overboard the other way. Now, this is not really unusual, this thing of having your sexuality pushed down. I volunteered years ago at this gay pride event, and I was talking to a young man who volunteered. I think he was 17, he was a high schooler. And I asked him, when did you realize you were gay? Because a lot of gay people tell me they realized when they were little. He said he only realized it when he was 16. And the only reason he didn't realize it because the same thing, he was taught being gay is bad. He was from a Hispanic culture, and the Hispanic culture, like the Persian culture and Indian culture, they're not okay with the gay people. They're very backwards in that way. So he was taught being gay is bad. So every time he started to have like an emotional feeling in his heart towards another one, his same age, same sex person, he pushed it down. It was pushed down before he could even feel it. That was the interesting thing I learned from that. When you push things down, like someone who's not allowed to feel anger, so you push it down before you're even aware of it. You don't even let yourself feel it. And that's the problem. You don't let yourself feel horny. You don't let yourself feel attraction to the same sex. You don't let yourself feel anger because it's bad. So you push it down before you even feel it. So you're cut off from your body, you're cut off from your emotions, you're cut off from your libido, you're cut off from your feelings because your parents taught you it was bad to be angry, it was bad to feel horny, it was bad to be sexual because they were scared of it. Parents were scared of it. If I let my kids masturbate, if I let my kids be angry, I'm going to lose control in this house. I got to keep things tidy and control. And and then they teach you all this stuff that's not really useful anymore because you can use birth control now. You have a choice about whether you get pregnant. I think the better message to teach kids is your body is natural and beautiful and healthy, and to teach some basics about sex, namely that men are able, not all men will just hook up, but many men, they will just have sex and discard you because they have a lot of horniness in them when they're young. So therefore, only be sexually active with a man that is going to be there to raise your children if you have any with him. I think that's a much better standard. So you're not shaming people around sexuality, but you're teaching them about options and about choices. I would teach if I had a teenage daughter now, I would say just be aware that you're going to have strong feelings to want to be intimate with the boy that you love and he loves you, let's say, or you're going to be sexually curious, but just know that these are the certain consequences that come with hooking up. You could get pregnant and this guy's just going to, you might never see this guy again who had sex with you. It's not bad. He's just like horny. He's just using you for sex. I would tell my teenage daughter, only have sex with men that you know are going to be a good father. That's a good standard for a woman. And I would teach my boys that don't have sex with the woman without using a condom because you could get her pregnant and she's responsible and in charge of whether you have a baby or not. And number two, just realize that women can easily get attached after having sex with you, or they're already attached to you, so they're having sex with you because they like you in that way. And that if you're just planning on using her just for sex, you could easily hurt her feelings. And we have a responsibility to how we treat other people. And when it comes to sex, men and women are very different. Let's talk about some of the differences. Let's talk about the differences and honor them instead of telling women that their virginity is their prize and shutting down their sexuality. Because you end up marrying a woman who doesn't give you blowjobs, who just lays there in bed, who doesn't let you go down on her, who doesn't enjoy sex, who thinks sex is her duty, who doesn't know how to ask for what she wants, who doesn't want to enjoy herself because she thinks that you will disrespect her, and stuff like that. So I personally don't really want to talk to my kids about sex. Like when my kids were teenagers, I just gave them a book. Like, I don't want to go there. And that's okay. We don't have to. If you're comfortable talking to your kids about sex, then do it. I think that also that children need really healthy boundaries around their sexuality. I think that sexuality, like erotic types of stuff, is for people to do alone in their privacy or with another partner. I don't think that we should be exposing our kids to any of that. I think well, I won't go into some of the stuff in the news now, but just suffice it to say that children deserve to have protected childhoods that are free from adults interfering in their natural sexual development. Kids shouldn't be around porn. They shouldn't hear explicit conversations. They should discover their sexuality on their own, ideally. And they'll probably see, their aunts and uncles kissing or holding hands, and they'll be curious, like, what's going on? Or my teacher's pregnant. How does a baby come from? They will be curious about their own bodies and touch their own bodies and show each other, their friends, their bodies. Those are all like natural exploratory things. And you can't shame kids for that, because if you have 2 7-year-olds or even cousins, they go off and play. They're just curious about each other's bodies, especially the part that's always covered up. Like, why is this always covered up? If it wasn't covered up, they wouldn't maybe be so curious. I don't know. But you see little babies, they're like touching the nose, they're pulling on your ear, they're just curious about their bodies. And that's totally normal. You should just let them do it. Don't make a fuss. Someone comes home like, oh my God, my little sister and her cousin were looking at each other's genitals. It's like, okay, just let them be. It's not a big deal. But if it was like an older kid doing it, I would be worried. But you have to let kids you can't shame kids around their sexuality, because when you do, you end up with a sexually repressed adult who will not enjoy their sexuality and who's going to have a very unhappy sex life in their marriage. Likewise, people who are told that virginity is prized or God's watching everything you do. I cannot even tell you all the untraining I had to do. Is like, okay, God's watching me. Jesus is watching everything I do. I do not want Jesus to watch me masturbate. I do not want God to watch me masturbate. I had to blow those thoughts out of my head. People think that they're dirty if they like sex, that they're dangerous. When I was at Landmark, I heard so many different stories that people told about what they thought about sex. One woman said that she was told that women who like sex are dangerous, and that if she liked sex, she would be dangerous. I don't know how she got that, but that's just to say everybody has like these different stories that they're told or that they believe. You're dirty, you're dangerous, you're unlovable. That's a big one in the manosphere. Women who love to fuck are unlovable. Now, I will say it's not natural for women to just go around having sex with strangers. Women who have sex with strangers I would say that they have an issue, emotional health issue. I always say, I think there are several times in a woman's life where she naturally is going to experiment sexually and not be so choosy. One is when she's first, like in her late teens or college years, she's curious about her sexuality. She'll have sex with her boyfriend, but what if she doesn't have a boyfriend? She's going to experiment with that other guy in the dorm or this guy in the class or this high school friend. She might experiment like that for a few years, and then she's going to be like, I don't really like this. I'd rather just have sex with my boyfriend. The other time that women will experiment sexually is after a divorce, if they've been married a long time and the sex was either really bad or the ex-husband ignored her sexually because he was secretly gay or he wasn't attracted to her anymore, she didn't feel attractive, or there was no sex was really bad. She will experiment sexually. And I think another time could be a married couple, been married for 20 years, 25 years, and now they want to start swinging just to open up their relationship, or they'll start like an OnlyFans together to juice up their relationship. But other than those few times, women generally prefer to have sex with someone that they trust and feel close to. Women are not the ones that are looking for escorts and massages with happy endings. It's pretty rare that women are looking for that kind of stuff. Therefore, there's no sense in scaring women about sex. I think that we should teach women about what men can be like, the advantages and disadvantages of hookup culture. And if we want women to enjoy their sexuality, I think the best thing that we can do is teach women to be in touch with their body, what they're feeling, what they're wanting, what they're desiring emotionally and physically, and to feel free to speak up. Okay, to learn how to say no, to ask for what we want, and to have a safe space that's respected. Not ask for what we want and yelling, but like, hey, I like this, this tastes really good. I really prefer this. I like to be touched this way. To get in touch with her body and her sensuality, and to be with a man who cares about her pleasure. That's super important, to be only with men who have empathy, who care about her pleasure, and who are not just gonna like hook up and then disappear. Because we don't treat men that way. So I don't ignore men after I've had sex with them. So I don't want them to treat me that way. I don't treat them that way. And to look for those kind of men. And I think it's pretty obvious. Like, only have sex with men that you know care about you. And know that if you have sex with a man who doesn't care about you, use good birth control and realize you may never see him again. Know that you're okay with it. And then after that happens, check in with yourself. Are you glad you did it, or do you have regrets? And use that as a learning experience. So, I think that what women have to know is that healthy men want a woman who's in touch with her sexuality and loves sex. But with women waiting so long to get into relationships now, till late 20s often, we're not going to be virgins at 27 or 28. So men who want a virgin should marry someone very young, 18, 19, tops, a religious woman. And I think that men shouldn't be afraid of emotionally healthy women who have sexual experience, because a typical woman isn't going to go around fucking around. Like, I love sex. I was an escort for many years. I have a Just for Fans page, justfor.fans. You can find me on there. I think I have a picture of my ass as the profile picture, and it's $40 a month. But I don't hook up. There's nothing in it for me. And I never cheated in 25 years of marriage. I never cheated on any boyfriends. Well, actually, I cheated one time on a boyfriend and I don't regret it. I don't regret it. It was an important learning opportunity because I was trying to decide if I wanted to be with him or not. And that guy I had sex with, oh my God, every time I saw him, I felt like this fire in the pit of my belly. It was so strong. I've never been that turned on by anyone before or since. And I'm like, I have to go forward with this. This guy could be the one. I felt this strong. It's like, oh my God, this fire. It's like a fire, not just in my vagina. My whole belly was like on fire. And it was the worst sex of my life. That's another thing. Just because the sex is good or you're turned on by someone does not mean that you're really turned on by someone. Doesn't mean they're going to be good in bed. And even if they're good in bed, it doesn't mean they're your soulmate. Completely different things. You can have really great sex with someone who's a fuckboy, a loser, not a good relationship guy. So don't confuse that. That's another thing we have to tell people. But anyway, other than that one time, I never cheated on a boyfriend, never cheated on my husband, 25 years of marriage. So this idea that women who love sex or have had many partners are going to cheat on you, it's just bullshit. You don't want a woman to cheat on you, then pick an emotionally healthy woman, an emotionally healthy woman. Someone who's emotionally healthy. If you don't know how to figure that out. But yeah, I'm still trying to undo some of the programming around my sexuality, and I tell myself that I'm just going to be however I want to be. And I just assume now that the person I'm with wants me to be sexually free, wants me to be sexually connected to myself and open to being present in this moment. It's been a lot of undoing, frankly. This was called programming, like what we're taught growing up, and then you have certain desires or thoughts, you don't even know you have them because you push them down before they even come up. I met a woman years ago who figured out in her early 40s that she was actually gay. And I think the same thing happened. She never allowed herself to feel her attraction to women. Probably she thought it was bad or naughty or whatever, shameful. So she kept pushing it down. And she came out, she's like, I'm gay. that's still going on, I guess. So, yeah, it's interesting. I guess if we were to just step back and think, like, what are the message? What was I as a child not allowed to feel? What was I not allowed to want? That's not a bad thing, just something my parents were uncomfortable with. So this is an important video because it's it's a lot of times people are shut down in their relationship. They're avoidant because they've never had a safe space to share who they are. They were taught that they were a burden. They weren't allowed to express themselves. Their anger wasn't welcomed. Their sexuality wasn't welcomed to develop and blossom. And so people go through life as adults with that same shrunken self that their parents instilled on them, and they're not able to express their full humanity, and they're going to be in a shrunken relationship. If you're in a relationship with someone like that and they don't want therapy, it's sad. It's sad because a lot of times people don't realize that they have a shrunken personality, that they were cut off from their emotions, they were cut off from their sexuality, the beautiful parts of themselves. I'm not talking about people just hooking up or just going on rage attacks. I'm talking about our healthy emotions. And anger is a healthy emotion. It lets us know when our boundaries are violated. In relationship, if our boundaries are violated, we're going to feel angry if we're healthy. And then we're going to be like, oh my God, I'm angry. I need to have a discussion with my partner about this situation. But some people, I think their parents maybe grew up in a household where anger was only expressed as rage, so they were scared of it, and they were scared of anger, so it's like, just suppress it. But when I'm angry, I don't rage at people. I'm like, I'm angry. I gotta let this person know I don't like what you just did. I don't like what you just did. And yeah, so I guess that's a question, like what messages have we internalized that were bad, that we had to repress parts of who we are to be in the world, and we don't even realize we repressed it. Or specifically about sexuality, what parts of our sexuality did we have to suppress, so that we think that we can be loved, frankly, or not be shamed or ridiculed. Maybe, like the women that don't want to give blowjobs. Did they grow up in the 60s when they were told good girls don't give blowjobs? Did they have someone put something in their mouth when they were little and now it's like a trauma thing for them? Were they taught that sex is only intercourse between a man and a woman? We don't masturbate or do oral. That's dirty and that's nasty. Were they told that vaginas or penises are dirty and nasty? Like, where did that come from? Like, where did you get that? Like, some people don't even like to touch feet. They're told in some cultures feet are dirty. I mean, they're dirty if you walk down the street, but once you wash them, they're not dirty. You can suck on somebody's feet if they come out of a bath. You can lick somebody's ass. It's called rimming if they're clean. So people have all these hang-ups about their bodies. What were you taught about your body growing up? About your sensuality, your sexuality, your feelings. Were your feelings ever honored? Did anyone ever ask you how you felt? No one asked me how I felt. I had to, grow into a lot of this. I'm 63 now, so I've had a lot of time. I guess I'm speaking more like an elder. And there are not that many women, there are not that many people over 60 on the internet, on Twitter, YouTube, or anything, because people my age didn't grow up with social media. Like I got my first cell phone when I was in my 40s. I got my first computer in the 90s, so I was like 30, but I made my first website. It was like related to the housing market. I made my first website. When was that? I was probably like in my early 40s. And, I'm on social media, I make YouTube videos. And there are some people my age who make YouTube videos, but not that many. Most of the YouTubers are in their 30s and 40s. They're not my age. You don't find very many people my age on making YouTube videos or being on Twitter or anything like that, or having an OnlyFans. You don't find that. So I'm kind of a unique voice. I should take advantage of my elderly voice, like motherly advice or something, like wifely advice. I'm not a wife anymore, but I'm like motherly vibes. I should use that for some good, but I don't want to lecture either, and I don't want to disclose too much of my personal life in a public YouTube video, which anyone can watch. So that's why I have the members area. If once you subscribe, then the join button will appear next to the subscribe button. You can sign up. It's $4.99 a month, I believe. And I go more into like things that are a little bit more private, I put on there. So you can do that, or you can also buy me a super sticker. There's a $ next to the comments. You can give me a tip when you leave a comment, or you can buy me a coffee. That link is in the bio of my channel. So you like my content, you can support me. I support other people. Today I sent $25 to Jamal Thomas YouTube channel. I've sent money to Dave Smith YouTube channel, the Duran, Kim Iverson. I subscribe to her. I think that it's powerful for women to support channels that we like. Some of the stuff I just freeload. I freeload a lot of stuff. They get paid off the ads, so that's fine. But I don't like the YouTube channels where they do the sponsorship, because I'm like, I already paid for the ads, and now I also have to listen to you go on about your sponsor. But that's what the big channels do, like Dave Smith, Candace Owens. They have, advertisements that they talk through in their channel. But I digress. Anyway, thank you for watching. I do like money. If you like my stuff, pay me, Otherwise, you can just keep watching for free. Thank you so much for watching. By the way, I have YouTube Premium, so I don't see the ads. It's like $18 a month. And it comes with 4 subscriptions, so I can hand them out to friends or family as well. And I never see any ads. It's so great. I love it. Please leave in your comments other like narratives that you have or that you think people have, because I think these narratives are so interesting. And no matter what narrative you have, I'm sure other people will be like, oh my God, wow, I think that too. Or wow, it gives them like a starting point to be like, what are my narratives that are holding me back in my life? See you next time.